Hi everyone. In this video, we will focus on transit trade as a structural pillar of international commerce. At an advanced level, we are not simply defining the concept, we are interrogating how transit systems function, why inefficiencies persist, and how power, institutions, and geography interact within them. Transit trade is often invisible in mainstream trade discussions, yet it is absolutely critical to the functioning of global supply chains, particularly for landlocked developing countries. By the end of this video tutorial, you should be able to move beyond descriptive knowledge and demonstrate analytical competence. Specifically, you will distinguish transit trade from related logistical processes, evaluate legal and institutional frameworks governing it, critically assess economic and geopolitical implications, apply theory to real-world corridor systems. The emphasis is on evaluation and application, not memorization. Transit trade refers to the movement of goods across a third country en route to a final destination, without those goods being consumed or substantially transformed in the transit country. The key conceptual distinction is this: transit countries facilitate movement, not production or consumption. This becomes especially important for landlocked countries, which depend entirely on transit routes to access global markets. Without efficient transit systems, their participation in international trade is severely constrained. From a theoretical standpoint, transit trade challenges the assumption in classical trade models that geography is neutral. In reality, geography, and more importantly, access, matters profoundly. We can categorize transit trade into four primary forms. First, pure transit, where goods simply pass through without stopping. Second, transshipment, where goods are transferred between modes, say, from ship to rail. This introduces logistical complexity and potential delay points. Third, re-export trade, which involves goods entering a country and then being exported again without transformation. This often occurs in trade hubs like Singapore or Dubai. Fourth, corridor-based trade, which is the most strategically significant. These are structured routes integrating infrastructure, policy agreements, and logistics systems. Examples include the Northern Corridor in East Africa. Each category reflects increasing institutional and logistical sophistication. Transit trade does not operate in a vacuum, it is governed by international legal frameworks. The central principle is freedom of transit, embedded in global trade law. This ensures that goods can move across borders without discrimination. The World Trade Organization, through the Trade Facilitation Agreement, plays a crucial role in standardizing procedures, reducing delays, and improving transparency. However, implementation varies significantly. Many developing regions experience a gap between formal commitments and actual practice. This gap is where inefficiencies, and often corruption, emerge. Transit trade is fundamental to global value chains. It enables cost-efficient movement of goods, integration of peripheral economies, revenue generation through logistics services. However, the benefits are unevenly distributed. For example, landlocked countries account for approximately 1% of global trade, despite representing a much larger share of the global population. This reflects systemic constraints, not lack of participation willingness. One of the most critical insights in the literature is that trade costs in landlocked countries can be up to twice as high as in coastal economies. Importantly, these costs are not primarily due to distance. Instead, they arise from border delays, administrative inefficiencies, poor coordination between agencies. This shifts our analytical focus from geography to institutions and governance. In other words, improving transit trade is less about building roads and more about fixing systems. Transit trade underpins just-in-time production systems. Modern manufacturing relies on predictable, timely delivery of components. Any disruption in transit, whether at ports or borders, can halt entire production lines. This became particularly evident during global supply chain disruptions in recent years, where bottlenecks cascaded across industries. Thus, transit trade is not peripheral, it is central to global economic stability. Transit trade involves a complex network of actors. Governments regulate and enforce rules. Logistics firms manage movement. Freight forwarders coordinate shipments. Traders depend on reliability. The challenge is coordination. Failures often occur not within individual actors, but between them, particularly at institutional interfaces such as customs and border control. Infrastructure is necessary but not sufficient. While roads, railways, and ports are essential, evidence shows that the biggest delays often occur at ports and border crossings, not along transport routes themselves. This highlights the importance of soft infrastructure, procedures, systems, and governance. Transit systems often involve multiple clearance stages. In many developing regions, goods must pass through 3 to 4 separate clearance processes, compared to a single streamlined process in advanced economies. These delays increase costs, reduce competitiveness, and discourage trade participation. From an economic perspective, time becomes a non-tariff barrier. Landlocked countries face structural disadvantages. Dependence on neighbors. Limited bargaining power. Exposure to policy changes. This creates a form of geographic dependency which can translate into economic vulnerability. The issue is not simply access, but controlled access. This corridor illustrates how transit trade is shaped by politics. While access to Karachi port provides a vital trade route, security issues and political tensions frequently disrupt flows. This demonstrates that transit trade is not purely economic, it is deeply political and strategic. The Northern Corridor connects inland countries such as Uganda and Rwanda to coastal ports. It has improved significantly due to regional cooperation, yet bottlenecks remain. This case highlights the importance of regional integration in improving transit efficiency. Transit routes are strategic assets. Initiatives like China's Belt and Road demonstrate how infrastructure investment can translate into geopolitical influence. Control over corridors means control over trade flows and, by extension, economic leverage. Technology is increasingly central to transit efficiency. Digital customs systems, cargo tracking, and automated clearance processes reduce delays and improve transparency. However, technology adoption is uneven, and its effectiveness depends on institutional capacity. Transit trade contributes to carbon emissions through transport activities. However, optimized logistics, such as rail over road, can reduce environmental impact. This introduces a tension between efficiency and sustainability. Transit trade involves multiple risks. Delays, theft, political instability, regulatory uncertainty. Firms mitigate these risks through diversification, insurance, and route optimization. Risk management is therefore integral to trade strategy. Effective policy must address both infrastructure and governance. Key priorities include harmonizing customs procedures, reducing administrative barriers, strengthening regional cooperation. The goal is to transform transit corridors into efficient economic arteries. At this level, we must engage critically. Key questions include: does transit trade reinforce dependency? Do transit countries extract economic rents? Can technological solutions overcome institutional weaknesses? These are not purely academic, they have real policy implications. To conclude, transit trade is essential but uneven. Its efficiency depends less on geography and more on governance, coordination, and political stability. Improving transit systems is therefore a matter of institutional reform as much as physical investment. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and share this channel.